Light. Dark matter is a thing, and it is the venue through which light, as in its microest form, whatever that might be called, photon. But that thing is only as part of a stream or as a large body emitting light. So those are two different things. One becomes electricity, plasma, and one becomes the ocean, all water, water in huge concentration, and which has tons of chemistry involved, salts and fresh. So those things have huge impacts over the astronomical relativity. So the space of space is enormous, and these things are very limited, not limited, but finite. But there's as much as there is black or dark matter, there's function to make it all white matter. It's just this thing that's like a thing going inside out, backwards and forwards. It's a reverberation. So light from the sun slows down and becomes. They both become. So it becomes tar. It becomes through the atmospheric chemistry. It becomes water vapor and or salt water concentration, and eventually that becomes not just rock and mineral, but plant life and dirt. Rock life, because of its size and because of its composition, becomes dirt / silt / clay / sand. These are variations of dirt. And soil, which becomes soil, and clay becomes either soil or stays as clay to make pottery on. And write a very long scribbling history, Grandpa Saul. So the light from the sun is coming to you in that very long chemistry, right? And it becomes the plant, as the plant becomes composition of the dirt. So, and then eventually that plant. So it's it's eventually making a fuel underground, but it's always potential energy and potential world bomb if the right asteroid hit it the right trajectory to light up underground gas fields, which I don't think could happen like that. But or the La Brea tar pits, and that's those things are still reverberating photon. The La Brea tar pits. That's what tar and plasma is the mediation. It's there's water, there's liquid, vapor, and solid. But there's also plasma. Plasma is taking electricity over a volume of space, and the gaseous material even settling into a resin. Which thing is, there's a live resin or there's a dry resin. A dry resin is this old sticky thing, that crusty stick that once was sticky when it had all moist, and then became crunchy because all the moisture is out. So resin is this thing that's mediating between moisture and liquid, and becomes solid if the moisture is lost, and then stays liquid if it's not. So the light from the sun is becoming. They're both becoming. So, but then from electricity, those are the two. There's how many states of fire? There's the fire that is a combustion of a tree, or a brush, and a branch or brush. Electricity is also another fire. It's taking the length, width, and height of the thing and condensing it into a spool. Electricity always takes the most convenient path. So it's the most direct route. You're taking that heat, that very intense heat, and you're spooling it, literally like how you would spool cotton. First, you gotta take everything out of the cotton and you just run a brush through it a million times, and that takes out all the seed. And then this seed is all just in this thing, and this spinner is spinning like this, and it's creating this this line. If you take a thread of your clothes and you had some instruments to do it, you could cut little. You could probably see, but it's a knot that is over the 3 dimension of a line of a tunnel. So that's what that thread is doing. But kind of like a turbine, the electricity is also doing the same thing. What is being created by a turbine is also kind of what's going on in literally you taking cotton and making a spool of thread. and they spool that. It's like that's only turning things on 2 dimensions every time. So like you can do like a vertical 90-degree turn, or like a horizontal 90-degree turn, or you can do a vertical and then horizontal to get you to like semantically, like conceptually, what I'm talking about. That's what like spooling thread is kind of. You're only turning it on two dimensions, between 2 dimensions every time. Length and height, length and width, or height and width, and then or width and height, width, length. So length, height, length, width, height, width. Yes, there you go. Those are the 4 things. So like electricity takes it in 3 dimensions. Like literally, you're taking like light is being. That's what makes electricity different than like the light from the sun. Over an astronomical volume than like maybe the sun. It looks like it's just like a flashlight to somebody's vantage, because it's like towards eventually over 1 trillion years, like the or 1 billion years, like the light of the sun is leaning down and to the like counterclockwise. I mean the negative horizontal or vertical quadrant. It's like the quadrants of a Rubik's cube. You got to think like 80. So 4 by 4 by 4 is 64. And so, the Nintendo 64 box was empty in one of my dreams a long time ago. Anyways, so those are qubits. So I'm just thinking about, like, this might fall under pyrotechnics, but the light of the sun, oh yeah, I guess electricity is that intense heat. So I was once wondering, first, what would light look like retreating away? And if it's enough light, or if like there was a long lightning strand, or like spanning in like the movie, as the movies portray it, spanning like astronomical lengths, like the distance between Venus and the Earth or something like that. So think of like now do that between galaxies or something. I'm not saying it's impossible, but so God damn nation. Oh, if you like, what would light look like retreating away? So would it be retreating away as like from the center of a supernova, which is just a big like 3-dimensional dent of where like 100 billion years from then, you could expect, or throughout the span of 100 billion years until it coalesces into another star, you could expect everything from like, if the star is 1 in a trillion, then like the other 999,999,999, like all of their like God particle residual, like after effect of since either Big Bang or since their last supernova, of them, like their little particle, that God particle, that smallest little, like that residual to pool in that location of the supernova right now. So that's like 100 billion years from there. Like that's just like what you're quantifying that, like what a star is after it explodes. So looking at light as it goes away from you, like, because it's either like when you're like the way Earth operates, it is going away from you, and it's called the sunset. And it's like the light doesn't mean that everything's dark, like pitch black. Like you have to be, even in like a pitch black room or closet, you're still not. It's still not entirely pitch black. It has to be like shut door and underground for years for you to actually lose any, for the actual photonic visual residual. That's 3 words. Photonic visual residual within your eyes to like not even be able to pick up on anything. But for there to actually be no photon there. Like, light is so the darkness is infinite, but the light is, I don't know if it's eternal, but it is eternal, but that's only because the light and the dark are the same thing. But one is on right now, and one is, like, that on can span years, even after that thing is no longer physically as we know it there. Think of like a ghost, like an apparition. Like, it takes years because the the neurochemical cardio twirling of the energy, like from a God perspective on us, for that, like some of the emotional experience of some people cause their ghosts to stay there for years, either like through a long pattern of repetition. Emily Dickinson might be still up in that fucking watchtower or wherever the fuck she was alone for years to somebody's, if they see her sometimes, but it's like you're looking at it from a binocular. You can't go up there and she'll never like talk to anybody again, this ghost, because it's been stretched out. Like those things are stretched out. These things are over time. Time and space, light and darkness. Darkness is merely empty space, and time is light, because that's how, otherwise you'd have no measure of time. Like the darkness is infinite, but the light's eternal. Like the capacity for light and for light to exist is eternal. One needs to be turned on or off. But that's only two dimensions, really. If light is the thing, or the not light is the not light the thing, the dark matter. It's the yin and yang. Like the yin, so it's like a circle, like a garbage bag that's black, and like it's kind of got like a puncture, not a puncture, but like a ripple or like a seam in it, like two butt cheeks or something, and like that's what I saw right there. And the eye is the white thing, but it's kind of like clear, but like it's either light or dark by its own contrast, and it's like there's a reverberation even in empty space. That's called dark energy, dark matter. There's a vibration. But so, like, to see light moving away from you, would you just like be like, so like an electric stream, let's say you're like watching it, it's traveling like along a three-dimensional surface, and like you're at the waters, you are like 90 degrees rotated in your perspective, so now you're watching this stream of electricity from, like, it comes from the bottom, and now you are eye on with it. You're at eye level with it, and it came, like, you're just like, somehow you have this vantage point. If you cut off that stream, because like you are that stream with your eyes, like the visual field, what would it look like light retreating away from you, or as from the epicenter point that doesn't really exist in geometric space? It's just a beginning of all points, that Big Bang point. Like, or from a supernova star, it becomes this perfect geometry epicenter, this little pinpoint, and then like the second it completes itself, that second that it is done at a decisive, distinct instance, moment, instance, episode, actuation. It's a moment in time, but it's not a span. It's not an interval. It's a span. It's a point of that time. So once that completes, it instantly, it has no longer use of it is itself. You're not holding yourself by gravity. So it's like it's a contained thing, and it undoes itself, and that causes the Big Bang, causes you to go everything outward into the exact opposite of the direction it was just being pulled from. So from that angle, and notice that 360 by 360 degrees, three-dimensionally, that is what gives rise to all the space in the known universe. It's like, so there's only that many potential ways you can go at this angle, from this angle's perspective, because then it becomes chemistry as it flings outward very hot, and like over the distillate, the diffusion of that energy, it becomes chemistry. Composition is all the same. It all boils down to hydrogen. It's all just hydrogen. So hydrogen as what these different forms, like, but then from hydrogen gets helium. From one, you're all like the same element, and then like on top of that one, then the one that has two is built on top of that. So now there's two protons, and eventually like a difference by up and down in the celestial north and south equator, like you get like neutrons that are, or no, isotope of just hydrogen, which then becomes isotope of everything. That's like 112, 114 elements, but like really there was like, by our being able to fathom it or imagine it, I'm guessing, like after a point there's you achieve iron as chemistry. Like there's iron in the universe from the Big Bang. Like the heat is dissipated and things are getting denser and or lighter according to each other to such a distinction that like there's a difference between gas, and solid enough to where you got like an iron. Like there's still probably no liquid as like compared to water. I don't know what things come in liquid. I don't know enough chemistry, but I know this thing. This is how these things function. This is physics, but physics is chemistry. The two are in like, but they are so grand in their concept. Like you can't define one without the other. Like you define chemistry based on its physics, how it behaves, but like chemistry then is the discipline of specifying exact composition, like the physics of exact composition, which is defined by physics. So like an isotope of like the several isotopes of one element, one type of atom, like that their physics, they differ by their physics, but they're still all iron. It's like it all descends because before the Big Bang everything is condensing down and all particle. So there's space and there's particle. Like the proton and the neutron are about the same size. Like they're inside a nucleus, a sphere, which is like a golf ball to a three-dimensional football field. Like that's an enormous space for just two little things bouncing around as hydrogen off each other. And like the level of the electron keeps them within that field. The electron is like the guy, nope, you're not getting out of here. Nope, sorry. But then it became the barbed wire fence. Then it became the fucking picket fence. So cutting, it's like once you got, so everything condenses down, right? Then the Big Bang, and with all the force that was brought every particle of every atom like into unity to where there is, by the time it's done, there is no distinction. Everything is the same clay. Everything is the same literal geometric plane, like vertices and vectors and like the edge of a box. That edge has a name. Like it's a vortex. A vertice is the corner and the edge of the thing. Yeah, so I'm just gonna call it an edge. I knew these. I know. Okay, so it all boils down to the field of every. So an atom is just like a sphere. Think of like a sphere in which electrons, by their field, are holding in the particle, the proton, and the neutron, which are both inside the nucleus. And then those two don't touch, like the proton and the neutron, or maybe they do. But like in the nucleus, those two are dry, like it's because of their weight hitting around. Like think of it, you had a balloon and two ping pong balls, and because those ping pong balls are moving within this confined space, it's moving it around the larger space around them, around the room. So that's what a proton and a neutron are doing. They're moving around, and the electrons are just there by their fields, like a sphere of fence, holding them into like it's just specifying like a order and range and domain of where these two things can try not to touch each other ever, just like bounce around and move the things the room that they're in. So there's a closet in the room. It's a balloon. We're gonna call it the closet in the room, and there's these two things are bouncing around, and that bouncing is causing this closet in the room to bounce around the room, right? And then the room is connected. It's like a gymnasium, and that gymnasium is connected to other gymnasiums with those same very specific rigid the rules to like how this room functions. It functions different under heat, and it functions different under pressure. Hello, Ashley. Or Lauren, but I think Ashley. It functions like the gyms. If you get enough of these gymnasiums, which stack themselves together by physics, by geometry, like, and concentration. So how many of these, literally how many atoms do you have, but how much in like an atomic unit, like you can get. We don't need an atomic, or maybe you do need an atomic unit for any substance. It's when does it become the substance it is? Is that one atomic unit, or just one atomic unit is like this specified number, and how many atoms it takes? Because some atoms will take more atoms to fill up to like get that weight than other atoms. So, anyways, that's almost like an interrupt. He's trying to get the bus. Okay, just wave him down over here. So that's how. But all things boil down to hydrogen, really, because before the Big Bang, it's a process that's in action. So once it completes, there is no like completion party or like all that force that was pushing it down, like to make sure there's no space whatsoever. The vertices and the edges of every single particle are touching to such a degree that like if it was distinguishable between units within itself prior, that now like there's no two faces. It's not even one. It's just like now there's no feature to anything, and it's just there's no line to anything, and there's no vertice to anything. It's like grouping everything together into a single like drop of water. If water wasn't two different elements spinning around each other, but like as we should think of it, water is this great neutral. Water is this great neutral. Think of it. We should think about it. Like whatever is the middle of the pH spectrum, which I'm guessing it's water, like salt water or fresh water. I don't know. It's probably fresh water, but like there might be a freshness even fresher. And if you buy this kind of water from Sweden or Norway or whatever, you'll experience it. This has been brought to you on their behalf. Anyways, so think of water as like a great neutral. There is no, like you can take it, let's say let's say, but again, it has two different types. It's a molecule. So that's about as small as one can get. That's like and we don't know, like there's no one element. There's no one atom that is. I find it hard, like that they could hold one atom with like specific instruments. It would have to be of light, like light instrument, like tweezers of light on a little petri dish of light, as light looks at light through it. That seems strange. I don't think that would be the case. I just don't think you could hold one atom of anything. But if you could, that was what the Big Bang, before the Big Bang, everything's in process of, so we're either expanding or we are coming together, everything. Right now we seem to be expanding. Like the universe seems to be expanding. But we might just be seeing that from the perspective of where we came from. So we are expanding. Or expanding onto a finite finite process, which like it's just going towards the opposite of the opposite way that it was flung by the Big Bang. It's like, but because all composition is so unique, like by it you get the stars and the dust on the Earth. So it's like those things are taking, just like twisting on like its side, the same axes. It's just like consolidating energy. It's consolidating heat. That's what all life is, and that's what all physics is. Like the diffusion and consolidation of heat. Like after a supernova flings out material to everything throughout in the galaxies. So that's a lot of heat, and like before it lands on anything or becomes the dark matter plasma like a trillion million miles away from the supernova that it was flung out from, it becomes parts of planets, all the other places, and parts of comets that get in ping pong ball all over, in certain in galaxies, or just maybe they're limited to solar systems instead of asteroids. I'm not sure. Like so. But it's before the Big Bang, we're all condensing down. Like, we're expanding. The universe is expanding as they think. We're all getting farther apart from our point of origin, which is the Big Bang. So, but like that might just because like it's just reverberation like this, or like back and forth like this, and like everything. So like we're heading towards, like we're getting faster, right? We're like, so everything's condensing down over somewhere really fast, and we might be part of that. But like to our perspective, like that is because we are the quark. Like we are, none of us are here, but we're all here right now as we know it right now, during right now. But this is the only right now that will ever be, and that right now is no longer right now, because those two, like that, everything I said in the past 12 seconds is the past now, and you can't get it back except on this video. So that's just another way of like, okay, but no one add any more to it. Okay, now stop, up. But that was this other guy's that he just shifts it around, and so. But we're all, since the Big Bang, we're expanding. Eventually, you won't see any stars in the sky. like how if we're only going like in like kind of like a spiral outward, spiraling motion outward. That's by the circular orbit of the Earth around the sun, and the orbit of the sun ultimately to the other solar systems in our galaxy, and in our galaxy onto like to other galaxies, and then to I don't think they're classified. The universe is all of it, and then there's maybe different universes which exist parallel to each other, and those are all based on potential. But like potential is a tangible substance. Potential, because like is a potential like with a mirror hooked up to it, and it's like, so what doesn't happen here happens there. Like why should I exist at all in another dimension or another universe? But like the universes would be based on light. So from something with the gazing power or pertinence of a God that sees me going down this line or me going down this line with the gaze of astronomy, like he's looking at me as the sun, as like a really huge sun from a very long ways away, but he has he needs us eventually to get to him, or like we're looking for somebody, so we'll eventually find him. Those are two like opposites of each other. So he either needs us to find him, or we need to find him. And if we don't find him, so what would light look like cut off from, like, watching it retreat away from you? Well, because you're on the Earth, it would look like from whatever direction the light is traveling after it departs from you. So like if you had the eyes of God and could see between, like, if there's like a Venus and Mars had an electric current going between it, and you could like make your eyes like Mars and then cut it off and see how it goes away, because light is passing through dark matter. Like it draws with the size of the light that's being cut off. Is it just like cutting it off like for a second, or is it like I once imagined that if you could make such a turbine that could connect you in a wormhole between two very, very distinct vast points, which would take years and millennia to traverse otherwise. Like snapping that off, it would have to cut off a stream of light. Would it be a stream, or would it be like a supernova? And for 100 miles, 100 million miles or 100,000 miles from the epicenter of that supernova, every one of those degrees, 360 times 360 times 360, like every one of those coordinate points, which is just a unitification of a concept of a space that is there and behaves as itself regardless. So those coordinate points, everything in there is going to feel the impact of that supernova. You're in the wave of the thing as it moves like a shell outward. But does it move in uniform? Like in those three-dimensional spaces, does it move in uniform? From that supernova, well, you'd have to have an instrument inside a supernova that you're counting it down to. It's going to. You can see the condensification process, and it's like we only got this quadrant, this inner southern quadrant here, those 100,000 million cubic miles over there just to solidify this little thing, and yep, we're going supernova in 5, 4, and then you'd have an instrument in there, and they would be taking all sorts of gauges and readings. Other than that, I don't know if it is. Or maybe physics demands that it would have to be, because it's all becoming so similar to that in that condensing process that being flung out, maybe only according to the celestial north and south of its equator. I don't know. Or other than that, it's all uniform. Or maybe because of this thing is 100 million miles closer to this star than this star over there on its other side. Then it's going to be pulled. That supernova explodes. The pyrotechnics explode towards one more than the other, or because it's all pressure in a force field. That's what an atom is. It's like a pressure created just by the composition. closet in a room, the room being like a gymnasium. So ping pong balls in an inflated balloon, moving around in a closet in a gymnasium as just one unit of a billion other gymnasiums right next to each other, which have just like skin cells, like they are made as interlocking puzzle pieces. So, but by the time it all condenses down, it's like there is no ping pong ball. Like the ping pong ball and the balloon have like etched themselves, the edge of you and them. Now like you're all the three same thing, and there's no distinction between anything on the way down to the Big Bang, and then it flings everything out the moment. Like it doesn't take a second, but like in the instant thereof. So like that is just where the notch line is on the timeline. The timeline has a bunch of seconds. In between each second, there's a notch. And that notch is merely an imaginary membrane. Like there's nothing in the notch, it's just a thing that is like the specification between the limit of one thing and the beginning of another. So once you get there, all that gravity, ultimately gravity is this enormous force, which is like by the time of its fruition, once gravity completes itself, literally it's a process that is spun on a million axes, but it's all because like the sun exists because there was so much matter after the Big Bang by an extent, and it was all so hot that it started flinging itself off as little sparks of suns of itself as it moves through a very large open space in not opposite direction of each other, but some of those places are in absolute opposite direction, because on a sphere you can be right here on the west and then 180 degrees and 180 degrees on the exact opposite side. There's a point that exists on a sphere. Like it might be on the Earth, it might be a canyon and a valley, too dense, or it might be a canyon and a mountain, or it might be a canyon and a stream on two opposite ends of the Earth. And those features exist in geology. So some of them are going to have not its exact opposite or its inverse, but just like one. If you go exactly down, dig into the Earth where I am right now, you should expect on the exact opposite side of the Earth it to be what? Right now I'm in the desert of Phoenix, so you would think it's like some siphoning fat ass of a mountain range or something, or lush vegetation on the exact opposite part, because the air is so depleted and everything is so depleted in Phoenix because it's the desert. But like, how would light look from the epicenter of a supernova? All this light going away from you. What would it look like? What if you just like saw light? So at any given time, if you are, let's say I place myself as a camera, 1,000 miles, just 1,000 miles. That's like a 60th or like a 20th of the Earth's circumference. So like 1,000 miles from here to fucking Denver. The Denver is the sun, and I put my back to it. Like there is a visible stream. You're just this thing, and like you're in all directions. Now it's two-dimensional though. Your vantage point is still 2 dimensions. That stream, it doesn't look like you're obstructing anything, except like it would be right where you are. Like maybe the light would be like going over a rock, water over a rock in a stream. Like it just kind of curves over, but like that's what Einstein proved with relativity, and the photos taken therein is like, no, you can see this. If you just get a still shot of this, you'll see that ridge over the sun. Like that means light is a thing, and like it curves around space. Like it and things can get in the way of that space. So like if it has to go over an object, it doesn't go through the object. The light doesn't. This is water that goes over you. And it was just like giving specificity to the chemistry. Like light is a chemical to some extent, but like really, so like, but as light travels, it is a thing, and it's like a chemical, because it doesn't just like hit you and absorb. Like but if the stream stops, then it's not there. But it's the space. It is the light going through the space, but that light has to curve around something. So that space is curving around something. That dark matter, the light is curving around the moon, because it's an eclipse. They get a still shot of, and you could see the thing curving over the edge with camera, like from the moon. Like it is the moon with the light is a rock in the stream, and like water, once it touches that rock, it doesn't go through that rock. It will wear away at that rock over a long period of time, but like it has to go over that rock like a ridge. The water doesn't go through the rock. So if it's pushing itself, if it gets pushed back, it's going to push the thing behind it back, and that causes a hump. That's the motion. You're seeing the physical motion of the water. Once that motion goes away, let's see you dam up that water a mile upstream. Eventually, that hump won't go. It'll just like the rock will just be in water. So like light is the motion of the motion of the dark matter. But like it's a thing distinct in itself, because it's distinct enough to be seen going over. If light's just this, like what is light? Is it a stream or a particle? Well, those are the two differences: particle and light. But the two things are each other. But they're not, because dark matter is a different thing. But it's a inflating of a balloon. But like it's not that space isn't that immense unless it needs to be. So like it stretches itself out, but then it can condense if actual particles or matter is going through, or heat is going through. Otherwise, like, so what is the color of time? Well, it's clear, but over the long stretch, it becomes first like a gray. From gray, it goes to indigo. Indigo is the difference between gray, between color and non-color, and it's the beginning of the light spectrum. So the night sky is indigo, and that is the color of time. Like just like nothing out in the 20 feet in front of you, nothing just seems clear. Get 20 more feet clear, and then do that a million times, and like eventually it's going to get like the curvature of the nature of spatial reality is like the darkness is becoming like you're seeing darkness or nothing. You're seeing clearness from a angle, and that's the darkness of the night sky. It's like that distance is time. It's like I think we're a lot closer in the objects in the universe, a lot closer than they would seem by the mathematics alone. The mathematics gives breadth onto how many points, how many three-dimensional coordinate points can you specify within an enormous volume. Like, well, that depends on how many units you're using. 360 degrees by 360 degrees by 360 degrees. Like that's in a circle. That's like a circle. So from one edge to one edge, but under the same equator, those two. Minutes. I did not mean for this. I think with the intensity of the light, though, to imagine it being seen as being cut off from you, like in retreating away, it would either have to keep up with itself, and like, so if you could make a turbine, make a wormhole or something that is between enormous distances, to cut that off, it would have to like keep up with itself. The light would have to. So it's like it would be speed of light. It's retreating away at the speed of light, but it's like keeping up, making sure, because it wouldn't just leave one photon behind. Or like maybe it stretches itself out until it's all just a string of a bunch of strings of individual photons. Like a light will go until every photon that is released in that light is stretched out one after another. And there's one on your side, there's one in front of you and behind you. Like, is it just like stretching out? Is that how light works? I don't know. If it's something else, like some of it might just crash into that rock, but then like if there's too much going over, it's got to bend. So it's a substance, it's a stream, it's a substance. But if you're in the shadow of that thing, I think, or you'd see, so like let's say you're in the middle, you got your back to Denver, which is the sun, and you would notice, like as though you're underwater, you're in the middle, you're submerged in this ocean of light. It looks like an ocean of light. From all vantage points, there is, like, you could see the sideways of light. Like, you would cause a shadow in front of you, your little instrument there, but it would be like three-dimensional in front of you, that shadow, and you could like take your finger into it and take your finger out of it. By that camera that you are, other than that, you look like you're in the ocean, right? And it's like still outer space and it's nothing, it's clear, but it's like, you could see, like, maybe you can't see it after a while, but like before, you notice that there's outer space, but then when you got within the range of this star to where like you could see its stream three-dimensional, like coming off of itself, and then there's a more like a solider looking thing of light come from this star, depending on what kind of star it is, which it's enormous regardless from your vantage point. So like you would be able to see this, like the star where it becomes the matter of the star, which is white hot metal, and then white hot gas, which is so immense that it's like be hard to white hot chalk is, think of like a star, white hot chalk, like, because I'm guessing you could pick up a handful of it, no problem. It's not like dirt, which is like heavy with clay and carbon, like it's, but like maybe hydrogen and helium get so hot and big in its mass that like it would be really dense to hold on to it. I don't know. If you could solidify that, like give me a block of helium, you'd have to maintain it at a temperature, because once we came below a temperature, by the physics of the chemistry, it would become the thing that you can breathe in and talk funny. Or because with hydrogen, maybe because it needs to be so cold, like what would you have to freeze it a whole lot? Like how heavy would it be to hold a piece of the sun? Like if you can go up there, they took moon rocks, brought it back. You get an asteroid, you get a meteorite that falls to the Earth, and you're picking up a thing that was just floating around outer space, but as itself since the Big Bang. Like it just like was this thing that was almost going to go with these guys over there, which a million curving vector miles away, like coalesces into the particles that are spinning around that sun over there. But whatever, but it didn't. So it stuck with these things, but it was on the outer edge of these things, and it was almost drawn, and it had its momentum cut off by this thing as it almost went there. So now it's just like, shit. But then eventually, on that thing cycle, on that kind of substance, that composition cycle, which is common, which is like, to make a universe, there's a couple of things from after the Big Bang that you're going to want a Big Bang, which means you're going to have to have all this stuff in its, and it'll collapse down and then fling itself off and re-become these things. And then once that has happened for enough time, those things will all happen again. Like maybe you might be the opposite thing that you were. So if you, let's say for some reason you're going to become the same thing as you just were, like it's like one was cold, one's you wouldn't become, because like the great eraser, the great neutralizer then is the pre-Big Bang, which cuts off all feature and things that inspire envy and jealousy and anger, and so race is out of there. Like that's what the Big Bang, the preconditions do. It's just like it de-specifies everything. Everything is just the same lump of clay. And then once it completes that process of all that gravity doesn't have to exist. It's the same uniform thing. It's you, but you don't even have any organs. It's just like you are this piece of dirt. Everything's this piece of dirt it doesn't even have any organs. It's like what that dirt is on one side of that dirt, and on the other unit of that same unit of dirt on the other side, that's all the same chalk. It's all the same stuff. Gravity ends right there. The instant it's done with that process, gravity, the force that process became eventually in its entirety, in its totality, stops and is like so like you strap it down, and all that tension holding that strap down, and then I'm done. It unflings with all that force being now flinging it the exact opposite way, and in that process, it's consolidating all that heat. So that heat, the materials of that heat as it flings outward. And like so like it was all silly string inside a can in that pre-Big Bang. But like now flinging outward, all those strands, which is everything, like every cubic nanometer of those strands of silly string in the Big Bang, but every coordinate of a sphere, like however big an atom is, every atom's worth has like a million atoms connected to it that it can then spin this way, then spin this way, then spin this way in the unfurling of that coordinate point, that three-dimensional geo-coordinate point within that sphere that it was becoming before the Big Bang, which it became prior to the Big Bang, in the completion of the pre-Big Bang, the completion of that, it was becoming, and then became in the completion, and then set itself in process of unbecoming afterwards, which is what we're still in, of the Big Bang. Those things are all in spooling. But like kind of. It's like they're unspooling on like a demigod level. A demigod being like the Lord. There's God and there's the Lord. He's like the intermediary to, if you give him the respect that he's there to do that. God, yes, God's like, God doesn't know your name. If he needs to know your name, then he'll know your name. But he's got a bunch of different human races all over or just like things that can rationalize and impact its own environment to a higher enough level. Like eventually we'll get intergalactic, and like we'll have quite an impact on aliens somewhere in some other part of the universe, somewhere very far away. Eventually, because then we'll possibly meet, and like we'll have a big impact. So, like the demigod level, the Lord, there's God and the Lord. He's intermediate. God is out to kill all life because it's so terrible to each other, and he doesn't want the guilt. But then the Lord's there to say, yes, I know you're mad at everything because of how it functions, because of how the biology functions. These hormones are very hot, and it ignores its own rules because it's so mad at something, and that's not what you're supposed to do. So, but I'm this guy believes in me, God, and I know that what you're like enough to where you're going to listen to me. This guy's not so bad. This guy's, it was very bad. And then he explains the circumstances. If you are a man humble enough to be a Christian, he intercedes for you from that white hot God that fucking I don't give a shit. You're going to become your life. And I hate life because all life does is hurt like consumes, and therefore it's cutting it off. It's like Jesus is there, but I know you want to cut it all off, but like you're going to cut me off? No, I'm not going to cut you off, Jesus. You're one of me. You're part of this endless stream of being that I am. Right, good. So, this guy's with me. He's all right. So, like, in the course of 2,000 years and then 3,000 years prior to that, the Lord finds, 20 righteous souls that God can trust with physics on that kind of level as the thing. That's kind of what dark matter is. We are all that dark matter. Like, the Lord and 20 fucking friends are dark matter, essentially. And, like, it stretches a vastness of astronomical volume. That is like, but at any given time within that, like, it's spread out. So out of 21 parts, if something or like a light needs to pass through any of those parts, like unhindered, but like, so it's all of those parts and none of them at the same time. But it's something at any given time, if it needs to be. Like over enough time, like all of their volumes of empty space get bigger and bigger. Those 21 parts, Jesus finds 20 righteous souls to trust with physics. That's what dark matter is. Like it's relatively much fewer particle than it is light. Than it is space in the universe. And space is always just expanding. So it was this empty space before, and it's getting bigger as an empty space that had no dimensions on itself. It was just this emptiness, right? But space, as it expands then, is like recruiting each farther layer from itself into the realm of its own dark matter. So it's like over the process of like a million years, this one of these 21 parts, each of them stretched out a little bit farther, and it's now holding together the universe that has nothing in it. But it's like it's like prior to 19 something. Or prior to like the colonial age, you go into the geologic primeval, and you see the heart of darkness. But no, the heart of darkness is because they kept shooting out, because of the hideous violence of the diamond mining industry. Like, and that's the horror of Kurtz. He sees the heart of darkness. It's like that primeval of the evil of the natural being, of the zoology being terrible to other things. Like, and the nature of the God that would let that. But then the even more hideous idea that there is no God tending this thing, and that it's just terribleness that, like, at best, because you're a rational speaking human being and they have laws codified that give even your sorry ass the right of an opinion and even the right to say something or say something, based on your own opinion, or breathe a thought, breathe a breath, or have a thought in your head that is not in line with someone else's who's stronger than you. Like, you got it really good, like the thought that there's no God. But here I am, a rational beast. That's the scary thing, because there's so much darkness and evil. There's so much sharpness and heat to this fire, and you think you're gonna go and be you think you're Jet Li, and this is the one. You're the one. I don't fucking think so, dog. Let the bodies hit the flow. Let the bodies hit the flow. And it's just a non-stop fight. This Valhalla for all time, and Jet Li is gonna fucking be on the top of that mountain. And they're like, unless you are that top thing on that mountain, something is raping and killing, hurting everything around you. And like, there is no smiles, there's no laughter. That's the inevitable darkness of the rational man, of the rational being. Except it finds the light of life. Like, unless it wears and is that light buoyancy, it succumbs to the terrible primeval and the darkness. Unless it is that darkness. It's like, unless you love, I don't know, do murderers love the violence they impose, or are they so mad that they're like, someone has to be a skewed pig, and that's you right now. Like, you have to love the violence, you have to, like, and then therefore never be subjected unto that violence. So there's sadomasochists that love to be tortured. I know they love to inflict pain, but do they love to be tortured? Like, I couldn't imagine loving a hideous pain that I've, like, just spraining my ankle, and I was like, oh my God, make this shit stop right now. I couldn't imagine, like, loving that feeling ever, but then sustaining it for, like, the amount of sex, like, even for as long as one might have sex. Like, sex for the best of us, you know, I ain't no two-pump chump or nothing, but, you know, give me just a minute or two, babe, just say, you don't gotta wake up. That's satire. I do not rape women in their sleep. I will just say that disclaimer right there. But I mean, like, just having a sprained ankle, it's like the breaking of the sprain. The moments of, like, the part of it is shock. That's shock chemicals making you, like, it's so unpleasant though that you don't want it to happen again. So like that, the shock makes it like it's a traumatic thing. Biology and nature and zoology make you. The nature of pain is an incredible gift of like a gracious God, so you might live long upon the earth and not be some stupid monkey moron who dies by the time he's 30 because, like, this thing, it's just too awful and bad and hard. Like, it's gonna make you regret those bad things that happen. So like that trauma of that broken leg or that broken arm or that dislocated shoulder, like, it's part of it is the hotness of the new chemical as it absolutely overcomes your cerebral, your state of being, your waking state of consciousness. Like that's a threshold. Like, so what was I saying about the light and the darkness? Like, hell is, like, the scary thing is that there is, not that, because I know there's a hell. I know there's a hell. I've been through it for years, you know, situationally or like circumstantially, but like I've walked through parts of a very dingy, dirty, dehumanizing hell in my life. Like, and not even near where, like, I'm a fucking lightweight novice compared to, like, think of like what some British soldier in the 1830s, you know, had seen colonizing people anywhere in the world, and like to get them to do what they say. Listen, I know you're not some monkey that just eats bananas. You're not, but you might not be human like me. But you do understand speech and you do understand orders. You're going to do exactly as I say. And those ones that don't submit, you know, terrible violence and subjection unto them. And I've years as a soldier, as anybody part of the British Empire, in any of its dominion, over in like the past couple hundred years, take off the last 40 or 50, where like most of it's now just like now, but Asia is taken over. Asia. But it has the same, like Japan is its England, but like whereas England was very social and went everywhere to colonize, Japan stayed very secular and very superior. But so that when the time was right, it comes around and it's like it rapes itself into China. China is the thing that is the body of the thing. It rapes itself into China for 2 world wars, and now it is China. So all that people, all that muscle might you get with China, it is that. It raped itself into that seed. It was a brilliant plan. It's just like in vitro fertilization. But it was over an anthropological timescale. So, like, think of the terribleness and the darkness. So, like, I've seen, like those guys have seen some real things, and the real, like Joseph Conrad in the African mining, the African diamond. It's like. It's called the Heart of Darkness. Don't think of it as a diamond mining expose like that stupid movie, Blood Diamond. That, so like 50 years too late or 150 years too late, whatever. And it was just like, Leo, sit down for a second. There's none better in Hollywood. The good movies are still going to you. Sit down, please. But I mean, I don't know, did that come out first or Departed? Because if it came out before Departed, well then just shut up, Dale. The Departed's really great. And whatever. I'm sure he was in other stuff as well. What does it matter? Anyways, No one's forgetting you. You're not going anywhere. I'm not trying to pick on nobody. Anyways. Man still subjects himself. Everything. But like nature does that to things. Although I think it's like specifically like a modern era, like horror aficionado, horror movie enthusiast. Like, it's particularly like there are people who just are violent and like violence, but then there's some who are violent and don't like violence because they like it's a hideous thing and it's an emotional thing. Like Moses to soldiers after battle, like after you see heavy conflict, like you are out to kill your enemy right now, not just like take him prisoner because like he's traveling and you happen to be able to take him, like, and then take him to the nearest, which is the equivalent of like not a timeout center, but like kind of like a timeout center in terms of like we are enemies, but you're not allowed to be walking through our territory. So like if it was you were on the other side of that field, I wouldn't give a shit because that's your line's right. The line goes right through the middle. Like you're over here and here. Sorry, now you gotta go here. At gunpoint, the guy's not gonna be like, oh shit, you got me, I was off. You said, Marco, and I was out of water. Shit. All right, I'll come with. No, he's still gotta be at fort, otherwise the guy's gonna fight back. So like light moving away from you, you would see darkness somehow. Like if there was. If you're in the epicenter of a Big Bang, I don't know. Of the supernova, I don't know. Everything's exploding outward from you. It would fling you out too. Like, no, it wouldn't. Yeah, it would. The force would certainly blow you out 1,000 miles away. It would totally like evaporate that instrument. But if you could see, what would it look like? So then, watch that supernova complete itself. The material that was there is no longer there, and it's going away. And already it has. Created a vacuum in its fast travel outward in all directions. That creates a vacuum from all directions into that same point that it just flung away from. But it's like not immediately. It's like by the ripples of a wave that's 1,000,000 miles long. But eventually, like the all the trauma of the supernova going outward would require something to reverberate back, and some of those things to get. Because that star existed because it was like originally become something like a corner in a room, like that collects mass. So like there's like a corner of trajectory in fluid dynamics, like at certain prime numbers, like prime numbers of some arbitrary divine unit. They become stars because that's where things triangulate themselves or something by physics. Moving like fluid dynamics, things moving away from each other, or moving as a volume, like a stream. So they're gonna keep up with me for some reason, for no reason. They time me like that. They do this shit all the time. Is it because they think I'm done? Well, I'm not done. So they'll know when I'm done when I stop fucking recording this, or the thing turns off of its own temperature now after an hour of the Phoenix sun. But like, so they time it to where like they're gonna cut me off of the thing here. Now they're not following anymore, but they were trying to keep up so that I can't concentrate on my own goddamn thing. But I'm walking through their space. God damn it, I know. But then you do time it on my specific thing instead of saying move along, and I'll move along. So whereas you saw light, so if you're in the middle of that moving ocean of light, it's like some star, it's not close to going supernova, but it's just like it's just another day as a star as it moves heat. It's a way of delaying heat dissipation is life, ultimately, because it's all just like moving in a long coil, and then making a branch of that coil, and like that becomes a solar system that is just merely a consolidation of holding of substance. Like a solar system is just another classification of like Russian dolls, right? That life is the most, it's like the outermost layer. Anywhere it exists, it's the outermost layer of the consolidation or on an inverse time scale than the normative heat dissipation scale. So is heated what? Well, that's what I'm struggling with too, is heat is how hot is something. It's not, heat just doesn't exist on its own. If it's hot outside during the summer, well, that's the air temperature, like and the gas that is it, that occupies it. That's the heat that you're talking about. But then there's like bubbles of that, because I've noticed that in the winter I'll be freezing my ass off, sure, but then the dawn comes. I've even made a video about this on YouTube. The dawn, now the sun is in the sky finally, but it's colder under a shadow. But if it's like, and that's only if it's like a recurring shadow, like this tree right here, that makes a recurring shadow, because the sun is almost is uniform, according to its trajectory all the time. In August it'll be on this line every year for another 1,000 or million years, and then a slight adjustment would need to be made because, well, we're all expanding to some degree as a universe. So, and if that needs, otherwise it is the same on. Now, don't say by date, because you got leap year, you got that's unification. That's too abstract. That's arbitrary unification. Like it's not the same date, but say by, or unless you're using like lunar, like a lunar calendar, because they have to account for the extra. Notice there are 2 weeks of, in the Hebrew tradition, the Bible, the Judeo-Christian Bible, there are 2 separate weeks, exactly half a year apart, of 7 days. That's the Feast of Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles. The Gospel of John is the only one that mentions the Feast of Tabernacles. That's specific. And then there's another day, the Feast of the Gathering of Ingathering, which you bring your first fruits to the Lord. That's 15 days. Take off that and you got a perfect 350. It's like way more break. It's like cutting off makes it 50 weeks. 50 is a really nice number, because especially it's half of 100, so it's like 100's an excellent number astronomically, or statistically. It's like that is gold to someone who loves statistics. Oh, you get yourself a 50 or 100. Oh man, you can pretty much. I mean, they're in my spank bank. Anyways, let's say you're in that stream, where like around you and as far as you can see in your frame of reference with the sun behind you, you literally would see, like, it would seem like you're in an ocean of light, because like there's so much light all around you, and it's like going almost the same angle as you like right around you, but like over there you're still seeing light, and it's like bouncing off each other, so it's like creating, like, you are in this literal like ocean of light. But then to have that cut off, what would it look like? I think it would be different for a solar kind of light or an electrical light. So solar takes like all the degrees in a sphere, in a volume sphere. So how many degrees, how many different coordinate points? Well, there's 360, and then you got to times that by 360. And then, that's just the surface area, so that doesn't matter. You don't need to, like, it's over a volume, but it's like it's measurable by surface area. How many degrees you want. 360 times 360. I found this. I don't want to stop this video, so I found this. Thank God I kept this. It's this little Victor calculator. And I said, I haven't competed for anything, but I will take the trophy. So, that is, 129,600 degrees. If you have just a sphere, there's that many degrees, different degrees, like little degree units, degrees squared. That's how many are in a sphere. So 8% of a million. So, I mean, that's a shitload, that's a high number. So that's how many electricity is along one of those points, like between two objects. So it's like three-dimensionalizes. It's a turbine. So like there's got to be 2 points between electrical charges. There's never just like a loose tentacle of electricity. That's not how things work. There has to be a kinetic buildup in a turbine motion between two things, spinning counterclockwise. I mean, that's how little I know technically. By like, I'm 38 years old. I haven't gone to class in a long time. I just think about these things. I just think about things, and sometimes I get a wild hair up my ass to make a video. So let's say you got 2 stars then, and they are working, and they have like a big, man has generated, or aliens have generated a huge turbine, and they've proven it, and they've operated it. It works. Like now it has 2 electrical charges between the two stars. It has an electrical current. Like that's 1 square degree on that star and 1 square degree on this star. That, like, and that's, so it would be an enormous area, like surface area right there, that vantage point. Those 2 separated square degrees. That electricity it's passing through. So if it's like, 100 million, like 100 million by 100 million, the reference point as like seeing the slice of the watermelon from cutting off this circuit as this stream of light as it goes, because that's what electricity is. It's like stretching out the heat, but specifying it's a unique specification of point. Like a fire, it like has a wider range of the heat. But like even you'll find that outside of the fire, there's like layers of heat. So like an inch above a flame is very hot. 5 inches above is still very hot. And then but then by 7, like it's inches above, you can do that all day and it won't really much harm you. You hardly feel it after a while. So that's what fire does. It's spreading out like the surface area of the combusting point, the point of the heat. Everything else is just diffusing. All of the heat is that's diffusion. That's heat dissipating. There's you notice on a match head, that's got to be the surface area of like a square centimeter, maybe or like 0.75 square centimeters. That's nothing. That's a match head. A match can start a whole building on fire. So like that surface area is the fire, and like that has material around it, that substance that is combustible. It's conveniently combustible. Once that is done, then it like runs down the match thing. But that's not as easily burnt. So like that won't work every time. But because that's for safety purposes. Like you don't use the whole match. But the point of it. So but the electricity is like the match point, stretching out, but it's way hotter. It's very much hotter. But it's like the point of a match point. But then it's stretching that heat that is the fire for the whole time. It's like an electric version of a match. Using a match would be like probably like a foot long, like 2 feet long, but like not nearly as hot. I could go like a centimeter above that same match head fire stretched out into electricity. It could be like a centimeter above, and I'd hardly feel a thing because it so localizes a strand of heat. That is what electricity is, but it's got to be between 2 things. Like that's. And it's like it's built up. It's kinetic energy built up. You're spooling kinetic energy. That's the type of energy that is like a heat rotated. So it's like that's why it's got to be between 2 things, because there's 3 things involved. Like those 2 things are something, but like and then their stuff is going in and out like towards each other more and more, and then. Like they've spun, so now it's created a spherical pulsar, like a spherical or like a yo-yo field around them, like in which it's all the things between them, like within a range up and down and left and right, are within that that field, it's like a rectangular prism field, and like the strand can go anywhere is between those 2 points. It takes the most convenient route it can. So anytime so it's like it doesn't like, oh, I don't like that route. Like it just won't happen. So like that charge, but it'll happen, near it or so. Like because in the same. But then those points are where they meet, like an electric point meets between the two fields. Like that was most of those things in like a cone are specifying, are spinning themselves to a point towards the other point. And it's like, so it could be these two things that see like two things above and to the top, like to the right and to the top, and like one of those two things here and one of those two things here are part of those two things. But the thing that there was the other one on both of them, like they're. That part I would have to specify. That was a lot of jargon. But to cut off that stream, like whether you're the electricity or like from a supernova where you're now in an ocean of light, but what if that light was cut off right away? Because that light would have to just go, right? Because it's not just going to linger there. I mean, light is something that it exists because like something is drawing it to it, or because of a propelling outward, like from the surface of the star, it's pushing light out. But light is also being drawn by anything that might see it. It's like that. Just the fact that there is something there that can see it, like from like a third person's perspective, like that person can see that light, whether it sees the source of that light or not. It can see that light because it's bouncing off, because you're now visible to it. It's like these things are conceptual, like subjective points of reference, but no, they determine a very weird quirk of physics. Because you're there, something. Or like maybe because the thought is there, we can conceive the thought. Something is out there in the universe that isn't us. Like it was just that we were the first fruit, and here we're still trying to get our feet off the ground, and like there was no like maybe like because whereas like they killed the first Jesus over the next 2,000 years, like every place that has life on it had a Jesus 2,000 years ago, according to our years around our sun. But theirs might have been 4 years for them, but it was the same length of like smell dissipation. That's chemistry. That's another way to measure time. Like light and smell. Because smell is just like it's gonna suffuse and dissipate according to its own chemistry within an environment. Like those environments can change. Like it'll be uniform from that type of environment for this type of smell at this isotope. And is it open pressure? Is it closed pressure? Is there light going through? Those are the questions of physics. Physics is chemistry. Chemistry is physics. Those two are connected. Zoology is like a weird triplet in them, or like it was the afterbirth. I think maybe. Well, some people eat the afterbirth, so become somebody, unto life, perpetuating life. It might have a finite life. That person might not have kids after it eats the afterbirth, but so then it like fizzled out. It didn't like just die. Fizzled out with that thing's life. Whoever ate the afterbirth. That's zoology. Like biology, or think of biology as a weird cousin. Is the weird triplet. But like it's born last of the three. They are triplets, but like it was like the first two were twins, and then someone else went into this woman, and she conceived like in the same week this other embryo, this fraternal triplet embryo. That's biology, because it's just physics and chemistry, which like given the substances on Earth, the distance of where Earth is from the size of its sun, life will have to happen eventually on Earth. With all the fresh water and salt water and the meteorology, the diversity of geology and the cycles of the seasons, it has to happen, like with all that specific substance. Like if we were still just like this briny, maritime kind of tepid planet, well, that must mean you're like 2 billion years behind us, and like the moon hasn't yet squeegeed clean the sky. But once it's done doing that, then you got like grass already, and there are little rodents around and shit. I think so. Light. Like they've only ever seen a supernova because they got the exact same reading according to 2 different instruments that were like perfectly 21 days apart. They predicted that you will see. They were able to predict this because, like, they did the math from the side, from a sideways perspective of God. Like they got this. And they were able to predict this like a year ahead of time. Because, like, the distance, the light information, which is like objective, this light information from the supernova wouldn't arrive to its other, where another instrument would be measuring it for another year because of how far the distance the things had traveled already. That's amazing. But like, what would that turbine, if like you had a long, what would it look like moving away from? What would light look like moving away from you? We just got like because if it just stops, which it wouldn't, it's being dragged along with the other light. Like, so is it being pulled or is it being drawn? Is it being drawn or is it being pushed? Like the movement, because like your lungs work, the blood goes through your veins because it's being drawn along. It's nothing's pushing it. Like there's more pressure in your lungs after you breathe out than after you breathe in. You can hold your breath for like a minute, but like breathe out and then don't draw in breath. Like you can't hold that breath very long. That's negative pressure. Like the pressure to harmonize or whatever, concentration, leveling out, whatever that fucking word is called that I forget right now. Like there's a lot more pressure in your lungs to breathe in than it is to breathe out once they're full. I think the stream being cut off. So if it's let's say it's a long, like strand of electricity. So 1 degree, like think of like a rope of electricity, 1 strand of electricity, like from something the size of a planet, like one square degree would still be like 15 miles. The diameter of this electric stream. If you cut that off, what would it be like watching that thing curl up on the other end and retreat away from you? It would have to be. I mean, that's a hard one to answer, but like I think it might just be dark, because it pulls in the things that it will be. It creates a vacuum leaving. So like, if what quote unquote dark matter or emptiness would be what would be there afterwards, then it draws that emptiness in rather quickly, like as its rear guard, like, or as an inevitable repercussion of it moving away so fast, because light moves so fast. So like first you're seeing like yourself as this spool, this strand of electricity, which is light, and then no light at all, even because there's light in front of you, but it's drawing in dark matter, which has nothing and is merely space that is inflated. It's like space is very large, but like in a moment it can become very small and very specific. So it's like it's an accordion. Space is an accordion. Like that, like something in miles away. That's like, that is an unfathomable amount of miles. But those miles are in like a zigzag. because a wormhole doesn't exist but always can between any 2 points within that star's parameter to make wormholes or dark holes. Or like when you were able to cut off that stream of light, that electric current that you are. Like, forget the fact, I don't know how they would cut that off, but like, let's say in a moment it could be cut off. The force you would need an awesome force to maintain that kind of electric field that you're creating. So then to cut that off would take an enormous force, which would compel light then to, like, light squared would be the exit force away from that. If that thing has a rear, that's almost like pushing the light away. Light pushing itself away, but because you got to figure it's not leaving itself, especially if dark matter would come occupy that space. Like if it draws in dark matter, like, so you can't see because it's drawing in the darkness right there. You can't see any light. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's like, I would think it would be an enormous force. So like it would create an enormous force, or like it would have an enormous imposition on that field moving away. Like the light would have to keep up with itself. Because like you wouldn't be able, if like dark matter comes and occupies a thing, you can't see anything. So like it's not going to just like drag itself away and like you'd eventually not see any of it over a couple days or weeks or however long ever. Like it would just like be, because that would be an enormous amount of light leaving you, and like, well, tomorrow it'll just, well, I can still see it. Still, yeah, it's getting along, because I mean it can travel hundreds of millions and billions of miles for you to see it with our instruments. Like you'd figure that would take a couple of months to dissipate away. I don't think it would drag away. I think it would create, like, there'd be like a photo imperative where it's like, it's the rear guard is like almost insecure, if you can call it that, of itself, but like there's the grip force of if you're grabbing something and it's near your chest is really strong, but the longer you stretch out that grip force, the weaker it gets. It's almost like light has a quality of that grip force. It's like, but therefore it doesn't. So like, whereas it would just stretch out its arm, it like, this one kind of is drawn towards above where it came from and is like now rolling over upon itself to go faster than the speed of light forward towards away from the spot that it's cut off from. So up can't be left behind, because either you get left behind and now you just go back to Earth with where all the doomed things are dead now without the sun. So barrel roll, and now it's barrel rolling faster. Now it's like leading the race as the light that it still is, but like facing where it just came from. So it's like it's in the front, but like, so light is like it's like a slinky slash like a flat taco rolling, but like, or a tank engine, like the motion rotations of a tank, like a tank moving, or like a slinky rolling on its side, kinda. So that's light, but it's spiraling. So like so let's say you cut off this enormous electric flow, and like it barrel rolls forward with the group of light to keep as light and to not dissipate backwards and be absorbed or fall on the thing that just cut it off. And then the other part of it that didn't go with that group, it comes back at the thing from the point at which it was cut off, and like with a vengeance, and like creates an EMP, like cutting off whatever electricity might still be there. That, I mean, that's like, if you think that it's going to be cut off by like a knife, or like a mere